we have to talk about the LFG in Guild Wars 2 PvE. I think the LFG needs some heavy rework. But let me express that further. But first, thanks a lot to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon that helped me keep the lights on. Grab a cup of tea and enjoy the discussion here. Please, as always, let me know your comments down below. And now let's jump straight in. This is my opinion, and this is very important that I make this disclaimer. I think the LFG needs some heavy rework, this is my opinion, but I also think it has some good things as well, and in my opinion it's actually quite hard to get it perfect. So I don't want to offend any developer here. I think it's quite hard to get this perfect, but I think it's not perfect right now, that much is clear, and I think we need some heavy help there. So what I'm talking about? Why is it not perfect? So I think the biggest thing that comes to mind when you look at the LFG is that there are way too many categories, and I'm talking about way too many. There are absolutely insane amount of categories, and they like unfold each other. So it's like insane to find something, and typically most of them, like 90% of them, are not even used most of the time. It's really bad, and it's like there is a group finder for experienced people and for training, and it's like training, no one uses that typically for most of the time. It's really, really bad, and that's just, I think the categories have to be like way more concise and just more useful to find. Sometimes, especially for example with the Mistborn Barons map, there was like for the first 3 weeks there wasn't even a category for the map. It's also quite bad, so keep that in mind. I think in general that's something that is actually needs some heavy help, and I think not only decreasing the amount, but also making it more logical to find it, or maybe making some kind of markers to it that you can say, this is my favorite category, I always want to see it, or also making it so that you can see multiple categories at once, so to find them together, so that they are not only visible on the screen, but also that they are, so to say, mixing, that you don't have to have multiple tags open or something, that you can just mark something and every group that shows up will be visible or something like that. I think so some basic UI features are missing there. I think it's hard to implement maybe for them, I don't know, but I just think this is a convenience that we actually need in the game, and it's been like over 10 years since this was enabled, and it's really, really bad in my opinion, how much is actually still missing. By the way, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. But now to the next issue that I find with it. I think it is just outdated. It's like advertisement for your group, which is very typically at the beginning of MMOs. Typically you can do that, for example, in map chat and stuff like that, but it feels like this whole map chat advertisement got laid into the LFG without any real other function than that. You just advertise the group, that's it. It's really nothing more. And it's not a real matchmaker. And if you compare it to other games like crazy good MMOs, but also just very new, fresh MMOs, all of them have some kind of matchmaker. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have that. It's one of the rare MMOs out there that doesn't have any kind of matchmaker. It's just an advertisement for your group. And this is just very bad. Yes, I get it. The matchmaking in Guild Wars 2 might be really hard, because you not only have tank, healer and DPS, but you also have like sub healer, some kind of tank healer, you have alacrity heal, quickness DPS, whatever. Everything can be really weird. You have a kite potentially. So it's not that easy to find the matchmaker, the perfect people to do with. But I personally think some kind of matchmaker would be a really nice addition, at least for the easy content. Something like that should be really, really in the game. And one of the really bad things about the LFG as well is, of course, the KP system. I think the KP system, so the kill-proof system, is obviously a really bad thing to show off how much experience you have on your boss. You can have killed Veil Guardian 100 times and never tanked it, never understood how to move the boss correctly, and this can happen, and you might still join a group as a tank. People think, oh, this guy did the Veil Guardian 100 times or something. This guy has to be experienced, but they are not. So this is really, I think this is a really bad system, and the LFG is not helping at all to find people that are like-minded and having the same experience level. It doesn't help you at all there. It's just against the, let's say, mindset that ArenaNet wants to have, some casual gameplay. But to be honest, for raids, for harder fights, it's actually quite annoying to find people that are somewhat like-minded. So you have to use the KPs, and I think that's not a good system. But I personally think this is a really annoying system that we have here, and it's one that works to some extent, but not very well. But that's, let's say, a little bit of a different topic, so more on that in a future video. But I personally think this is not a good thing. And the same goes for the fractals. Fractals are horrible. The LFG for fractals is so bad. You have 4 different categories that scale with your fractal level. So if you're fractal level 10, you can't see fractal advertisements that are higher than your fractal level. This is so stupid. So you can't see tier 2 groups if you're in tier 1. And that means that you can't level up your Fractal that easily, because you always have to look for people that actually in the lowest category if you start out. And especially in tier 4, it's actually really bad if you want to go from tier 3 to tier 4. It's actually, you have to have the Fractal level to find people there. It's so bad. So that means that you can't level up the Fractal level without going to the tier 3 hell first. It's so bad. I think this needs to be removed instantly. And in my opinion, that's not a good system at all. But that's also the same with the agony system, but that's again another video. But I personally think the LFG has a lot of issues, and I just mentioned a few, but one of the most important issues that I feel like the LFG has is the commanding issue. So what do I mean by that? Commanding in LFG is not really incentivized. You can easily join a group that is advertised and have a completely lazy role, so to say. But I think commanding is very important, that you incentivize people to actually create their own groups, to find people that are like-minded like them. I really would like to see some kind of counter how many people are looking at a specific category right now, because I feel like it would be insane how many people are currently looking at it, and only a fraction of them are actually advertising. It's so crazy. So I personally think commanders are really rare, and we have to get something going there and have more people have to be commanders to actually find more groups that the LFG is actually going and working, and we get some crazy good, let's say, community and just pugging scene going. Because I feel like if we don't have incentives for commanders to actually LFG and advertise their groups, we don't have people playing together most of the time. It's really bad. There are really other bad issues with commanding. I can see that for sure in the LFG. For example, blocked players can still join your group, which is obviously not a good thing, because typically if you want to block someone, they have some kind of reason why you don't want to have them, and they can still join your group. So if they annoy you, you can kick them, but they can join a group again after your advertisement. So that's an issue. And also I feel like there is a lot of toxic behavior towards commanders. Yes, you heard that right. I feel like people are not able to do their own commanding a lot of the times, but if they join someone that is actually new and wants to learn commanding or just did some kind of mistakes, people are really toxic towards the commander and always know it better. And I think this is a really bad behavior. If you don't do it yourself, don't be mean, maybe give feedback, yes, but be civilized about it. I think this is really important. Otherwise, you will not find new commanders that actually take the role, take the responsibility there. And I feel like this is really important. I really want to mention this and really stress that, because I am commanding quite a lot and I have no issues with that. But if people are having issues because people are always offended or having some kind of toxic behaviors towards them, this is not very a pleasant experience, and they will not command again. So please be friendly and civilized always, not only when you are talking to commanders, always. So what are my suggestions? How can we improve this situation? I personally think the tech price. So if you want to buy a commander tech, it's actually quite expensive. I don't know if it should be 0. I think that's not good, but I think it should be at least decreased. I think the amount that you need to spend on a commander tech is actually quite low. Yes, you can create a group without a commander tech, but I feel like this is like some kind of noob stick, and you will easily be visible to a lot of people and say, oh, they don't have a commander, that doesn't look like a good group. So I personally feel like the commanding tech should be better, especially because you also want to have the power over the group, so to say, so that you can create markers and that kind of stuff, which is really annoying to do if you don't have it. So I feel like this system should be cheaper, even if it's not completely free. I think there is a reason to say that it's not free. But okay, that's a completely different topic. I think it's too expensive. We need a more organized UI. I talked about it before. I think it needs to be more concise. It needs to be easier to mark something for favorites or something like that. It needs to be easier to find the category that you're looking for, and it needs to be just a little bit more trimmed, I would say. Other than that, I feel like an automatic matchmaker would be amazing, of course, if you could make that happen, especially for easy fights like Fractals or something where you have somewhat clear roles very often, but I don't see it happen actually. I'm not sure if it's fixable or doable, but I think if it would be doable in Guild Wars 2, I think they would have already done it, because that's such a big improvement to help people getting into PvE, instance content and that kind of stuff, even in meta events and that. But I feel like it's not that possible, otherwise they would have done it, and therefore we will probably only get it in the future in another game, maybe something like that that Reunit is working on. But right now in Guild Wars 2, I don't see it, to be honest. There are a lot of ways to improve it, but I feel like that's their job. I can criticize what I feel like is the problem as a player, but it's not my job to come up with a solution. That's the job of a developer. Please let me know your takes in the comments if you have any other suggestions for the LFG or what you think about this suggestions that I made. I would be really interested to see what you have to say about that. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks again to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon, and I hope to see you all in the next video.